TJ the Wheel Deal coming at you live. It is Monday, April the 7th, 10:35 a.m. Central Time, Texas time. I want to give a shout out to my late grandma on my daddy's side. Her name was Epifania. What a name, right? Epifania Martinez Tijerina. She was born on April the 7th. I don't know what day. It was a long time ago. So anyway, we have a lot of birthdays in April. My nephew's tomorrow. My son was April the 11th, or is April the 11th. And then my late grandma, my maternal grandma, Julia, she was on April the 12th. So it's kind of cool that both grandmas had a grandson that was like, one day in one case after and one day before their birthdays. So anyway, it's one of those things. And my parents' anniversary is on April the 24th. I think it's like 55 or 56 years. Our second year anniversary, or 2-year anniversary, is April the 28th. So April's a big month for our family. Anyway, how are you guys doing? For those of y'all that might be new to the channel, my name is TJ the Wheel Deal. I sell puts, I sell calls for the living. I roll when it makes dollars and cents, and I have a knack for buying the timely leap. So what you're going to get on the channel is you're going to get full transparency. You're going to get a guy who literally does this for a living, and I show you in real time what I'm doing whenever I'm able to go live. What you're not going to get is a bunch of why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? I don't know. What I do is I trade the market that is in front of me. And I sell puts, I sell calls, I collect premium, and I roll when it makes dollars and cents. I'm here for the dollars. You can go to another channel if you want the drama. I'm not into that shit. I want to know, what can I do today to position myself to make a lot of money tomorrow? That is the game that I play. I don't need to know why every freaking stock is up or down for the day. That is just not the game that I play. So anyway, I want to start off with a tweet. So I posted this tweet yesterday, and my goodness, people are just responding, and very emotionally, I might add, very emotionally. So the tweet was very simple. Be honest. If you knew this was going to happen, would you still have voted for the Donald? So up to 125,000 views, 895 likes, 42 retweets, and 840 comments. And I would say it's about 60, 70% people saying that, yes, I knew it was going to happen. And yes, I still would have voted for him. So guys, I wanted to take the time to use this platform. You see, here's one right here. Absolutely. He talked about this throughout the entire campaign. Anybody that was paying attention knew it was coming. Anyone who thought this administration was going to go to DC and tinker around the edges with a little tax policy here or a little regulation policy there. So that's kind of like pretty much what I'm getting. So my thing is this, because I didn't know it was going to happen. I thought that heads were going to roll. I thought that he was going to go in there and make an impact, kind of like that cat that comes in, wants to pee everywhere, Marcus territory. I thought that was going to happen. But here's the thing. I didn't know. Because if I knew, well, wouldn't it stand to reason that you should probably just buy a bunch of fucking puts? You know what I mean? Make a shitload of money, enjoy the ride down. So if you didn't do that, I feel like you didn't know. Let me say it again for the people in the back of the class. If you didn't do that and you're claiming that you knew that this was going to happen, what are you, some kind of retard? Like, why would you not do that? I didn't buy a bunch of puts because I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know. I suspected that it was going to be, a roller coaster, but I didn't know. I didn't definitively know that it was going to happen. If not, I would have positioned myself accordingly. But once I had a real good idea what was going on, I started selling naked calls because I was like, I don't want to buy puts. I have to like spend that money. And like, here, let me just collect this money. If on the off chance that I'm right, well, it's like about $500,000 that we collected on naked calls. I was like, I'll just go capture that 500,000, have a lot more money to buy the bigger dip. The portfolio is going to look like trash, and that's okay because I'm a long-term mindset. And I don't really get that freaked out with paper gains or paper losses. But what's real to me is the cash. It's like I go sell naked calls, go get all of that money, put that in the brokerage cash, right? And going to go to the buying power. Now I can position myself to buy more shares or buy more leaps whenever I feel like the timing makes sense for me. Not so much timing the market, just the right time for me. So anyway, I want to ask y'all the question. Knowing everything that you know now, would you still have voted for the Donald if you voted for the Donald? I personally did. I didn't want to vote at all, but a family member was running for commissioner, so I voted for him. And then while I was there, it showed up. I was the very first one, right? Kamala or Donald. To me, Donald was the lesser of the two evils for me, because I didn't think that either one of them was like, oh my God, I can't wait for you to be president. That wasn't my mindset. I'm not going to lie. That was not my mindset. My mindset was, of all the people in this country, this is what we have. Like, this is what we have. That was my mindset. And I was just like, am I gonna vote for a horse laugh? Like, am I gonna vote for that? Or am I going to vote for the guy that I think can get it done? Do I think that he's a Boy Scout? Do I think that he's a top-notch person? When there's, a rape conviction on him, not the guy that I really want to kick it with. That's not the guy that I want to kick with personally. It goes against a lot of my moral fiber, right? A lot of my morals, a lot of my ethics. And then this lady, some abundantly Erica or whatever, she's like, oh, it says a lot about who you are. So she's like all judging me and shit. And I'm like, man, go back to your grift and go tell people how you know how to make all this money selling covered calls and all this other stuff. I was just like, it's not even worth my time. Like, it just wasn't even worth my time to engage with her too much. But anyway, she's like angry at me because I voted for a rapist. And I'm like, wait, I think he could do the job, though. Like, I think he could do the job. I didn't think the other lady could do the job. So I wasn't going to cast my vote over there. And I was like looking at the benefit of the country, like what would be more beneficial for the country long term. And, I just think that Donald's willing to do the tough things, the painful things. Now, do I think he could and should have gone about it a different way? Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's just not his style. He's like a bull in the china shop, right? It's absolutely crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I think the account was like right at about 8.2 or $8.3 million earlier. What's your account at? That's really the most important question you should be asking yourself, but I appreciate your concern with ours. What's going on, Mr. G? What's going on, Dex? What's going on, Stockman? Muted. Hey, right on, Dex. Hello from New York City. Right on. Very cool. Very, very cool. Most money you lost in a week. Y'all got to go back and watch that Warren Buffett interview. I haven't lost anything aside from the NEO and the SOXL because those are realized. But being down and being up and you didn't do anything, that's the market. You know what I mean? That's the market. Because you ever go to your 401k and your IRA and be like, ooh, I made a bunch of money this month. No, it's irrelevant because you're still in those positions. So the only thing that decides whether or not you make or lose money is whenever you push the sell button. Then at that point, you can have realized gain, realized loss. The rest of this shit is just a bunch of bullshit. It makes you feel good when things are going up. It makes you feel not so good when things are not going up. But that's the reality of it. I would have still voted for him. I think in the end of his term, we'll be sitting pretty good. I hope so. We'll see. We're in this thing now, right? Like we're in this thing. We'll see what happens. I feel like these folks have access to a lot of information. There's a lot of smart people that are working with the Donald. I'm sure he listens to a lot of them. He probably chooses not to listen to a lot of them. That is awesome, man. You should have a channel or point me in the right direction. I'd love to see what trades you're in. That's great because everybody's real good over here. Everybody's real good over here in the chat, but I like to see results. Like I like to see receipts. What's going on? There you go. Happy Monday. Stocks down. Cash balance is up. Word. So anyway, let me see if I can get it together over here. Remove. Okay, present. Stop screen. Then I'll go present again. Share screen. Here we go. Entire screen. Y'all can see the kaleidoscope action. Okay, super. So let's get into the portfolio and see what's going. Good morning, Vietnam. I remember that with Robin Williams, right? I feel like I was a kid. Gosh, what was I? Probably less than 10 years old when that movie came on. Hold on, guys. I'm sidetracked, but I got to know. Good morning, Vietnam. Yeah, 1987 film. So I was 12 years old. I remember watching it at the Pioneer Theater in Falfurrias, Texas. And he had like a little headset on. Robin Williams was like a radio jockey or whatever you want to call him. And you'll be like, "Good morning, Vietnam," or something like that. I only saw the movie one time, but I feel like his character was funny. I don't even know what the hell the movie was about, to be honest with you, but that was like the show me the money, like the iconic line of the movie. Like, say hello to my little friend, that kind of thing. Like that was the line of the movie. Good morning, Vietnam. And I guess that was the name of the movie too. I'm sitting on dummy cash. Good morning, TJ. Right on. So anyway, let's see what's going on with the portfolio. This thing's been down a lot. I think it was down like 800,000 today at one point, and then it was up like 400,000, and then it was down again, and I don't even know where it's at right now. So we'll look at it together. So now we're about even. It's down 143,000, and I say about even because compared to what this thing's been doing, OMGbers. You know what I mean? OMGbers. So let's talk about it. So year to date, huge drawdown, 3.8 million. On the other account, up a little bit, down 272,000. This is just a bunch of SoFi shares, though. SoFi is simply not performing. So that's what's going on with SoFi. There's cash secured puts in June at $4. Covered calls. We're starting with the middle account, the little accounts, and then we'll finish with the big account. So there's not a lot going on here in this particular portfolio right now. SOXL has a real small rebound today, still absolutely getting obliterated on 50 cash secured puts at 9.15. And then TSO, there's 1,000 shares owned at 8.09. It's currently going for 7.30, so down on those. Cover calls at 17 that are doing pretty well for May. Got cash secured puts for June at 5.7, and then more cover calls at 12.7 for June. So it's just all about SoFi. It's all about SoFi, this particular account. Same as the little one. It's all about SoFi. Got a shitload of long calls that are doing okay today, but collectively they're down almost 60%. And then I've got the cover calls that are at least printing. So that part's good. Running the poor man cover call campaign there. And then on Riot, there's 1,000 shares about even on the shares. And I've got cover calls against those shares. That's really it, guys. That's really all that's going on that one. So now let's get to the bigger one. So let me minimize all of this, and we'll start with Amazon. What's going on with Amazon? Up a little bit today, but down a lot since the beginning of the year, $468,000. It says here profit and loss open is only $298. This is because this is carrying where we stood whenever these shares came over from Robinhood. So that's why the year to date is going to be different than the profit and loss open, if that makes sense. And then also there's covered calls on the shares, $210 for 516. So that's what's going on with Amazon. CleanSpark sold a bunch of cash secured puts at $6. for 516, up 6,000 today, but down 43,000 collectively, or 84%. I just need data to do its thing because it's out of the money. But then I was like, well, let me bring some money through the door on calls. So kind of like turning it into a bit of a strangle, if you will. And I sold the calls at $11 for 516, 286 of those and 1,714 of those. And those are down a little bit today, but two things can't be true here. The cash secured puts and the cover calls can't both be in the money at the exact same time when they have the same expiration date. So right now we have a nice little sweet spot of from 601 to 1099. So I like our chances to manufacture the win there. That's a pretty decent spread. What's going on right? There is 150,000 shares at 851. It's owned at 851. It's currently going for 714, so up $750 for the day, down 204,000 since we moved over to Tasty Trade from Robinhood. Then I've got calls, covered calls at $10 for May the 16th. There's 4 of those, and then another 2,496, so 2,500 total. And those are down a little bit. And then I've got the cash secured puts that are also down today. 1,000 cash secured puts at $7. So an agreement to buy a lot of shares, 100,000 shares at $7. It's a lot. It's a lot. But I kind of like right at $7, so it doesn't really cause me a lot of stress. I love CleanSpark at $6, so it doesn't really cause me a lot of stress there. So now let's talk about SoFi. What's going on with SoFi? I made a big move on SoFi last week. I sold 150,000 shares at $9.65, but then I sold cash secured puts at 10, and then I bought long calls at 15 for June of 2026. I sold the cash secured puts at $10 for January of 2026. So those are doing okay today, but they're still doing pretty bad collectively, down 10% on the cash secured puts in the distance, and then down 23% on the leaps. So this was a big investment, guys, like $654,000 or something like that. And I'm thinking that it's going to print a lot, but at the end of the day, SoFi needs to go up and to the right. And that's the thing whenever you buy leaps, so you got to be cognizant of this simple fact. It's an eroding asset and time is not in your favor, right? It's like that hour saw glass. It's ticking, 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 and it seems to tick a little faster the closer you get an expiration date. So you have to be mindful of those facts. Tesla, this is where the bulk of the portfolio is right now in Tesla. So there are 6,500 shares at $261 and own those shares at 228 because I had averaged up aggressively in the 300s while we're in Robinhood. So that part has not worked out so far. We'll see how it goes. I'm optimistic that it's going to be just fine. Then there's 220 strikes, 35 of them for 516. Those are not doing well right now. There's still 39 days left. It's out of the money, so I'm not doing anything. The other thing that I had is I had the 230 puts for 516. I kicked those down to 200, and I put them over here at on January of 2026. That's where you're going to see that lot right there of 35. That's what happened there, and picked up like $35,000 in premiums just to de-risk the account a little bit. So now I've got 435 cash secured puts in the distance at 200 and 175. So we'll see what happens there. And then I've got all the calls. Got 200 calls, covered calls / naked calls at 300 for 516. 100 naked calls at 350 for 516. And 100 naked calls at 100 for 516. And you guys can see that those are printing pretty well. I may let like a week or so go by, just kind of let the market settle a little bit. I'll let some of the technicals reset and stuff. I'll go watch, have Uzi on. I'll go watch the Wicked Stocks of the world. There's like 3 or 4 people that do technicals on Tesla on a daily basis. And then I'll decide whether or not I want to possibly roll down the cover calls to bring in more credits, or if I feel like the credits aren't substantial enough for the amount of risk that I would be taking, then I'm just going to leave it alone and maybe look to close these out when they're north of 80, 85%. I mean, if this cash secured put's underwater, obviously it stands to reason that these calls are not going to be underwater. So I might as well get the rest of that extrinsic value because we're talking about 127,000. We're talking about 19,700. We're talking about 11,400. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So I don't want to just give all of that money back to close out those positions because that money will come in handy and position ourselves to buy a bigger dip if it happens. So now let's look at the overall health of the portfolio. The cash balance is 5.906, settled cash balance, starting day trade, maintenance X the SMA. So that is what's going on in a nutshell. The goal for the cash is actually to get it to $6.25 million. Why? Because that's the amount that was invested into the portfolio. So I like to have that in cash. And then I'm like, well, I'm just managing my open options at that point. And then once, theoretically those would expire out of the money or I was able to close it and I still maintained a cash balance of 6.25, I'd be like, shit, I don't know, those shares for free. Everything that we own as far as shares goes would theoretically be owned for free. And that is a real nice place to be. So I'm just going to continue raising cash until there's just a no-brainer situation. And I feel like it will happen that you're like, dude, you got to go grab those shares, got to go grab those leaps. I'm talking about Tesla in that 150 range. I'm talking about like if SoFi were to like crash to like 7, Riot crashes to like 5, CleanSpark crashes to like 4 or 5, Amazon goes to like 125 or something crazy. Then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to pretend like these positions don't exist. I'm going to use all of that cash to go grab, another tranche, if you will. So that's kind of how I'm playing it in a nutshell. Let me check with you guys. It's pretty straight. It's pretty straight. Well, then I'm sorry about that, but don't look then. I mean, what can I tell you? There is something else that I could show y'all, though, that is a little bit easier to see. If I could pull it up, because we want to make sure we please Grok, right? Because Grok's kind of annoying on the comments, so we don't want him crying over there. Let's, I'm just messing with you. Let's just go. I think it's this one. Yeah, this one. Bear with me, guys. So we're going to remove this guy. We're going to go present, stop screen, present, share screen. There we go. This one's nice and big for Grok to see it. Make sure he puts his bifocals on. So anyway, you never want to argue with the guy with the microphone, bro. It's a rookie mistake. Keep that in mind. You go to a comedy show. You don't argue with the guy that has the microphone because he'll roast your ass. So anyway, just a little life tip for you. So what's going on with Amazon? Amazon's real simple. It's 130% of you guys can't see that. I'm sorry. I put in 140 for you guys. So Amazon, so got cover calls at 220. This is featuring just the big account, right? So Amazon calls at actually these are at 210. I found a little typo there already. So 210 expiring on 516. Got CleanSpark cash secure puts at $6, 2,000 contracts, collected 52,000 in premium, expired on 516. So that's $1.2 million in collateral. And that's just a cash grab. No intention of owning those shares really. I mean, if I can like be in this trade for a while and then eventually roll them to 5 and get assigned at 5, that's the risk reward there seems very compelling. I might want to take ownership there. Even at $6, it's pretty compelling. But right now, I'm really like trying to hold on to that cash as tight as I can, unless the deal is just like slapping you in the face and being like, hey, dude, this is what you were looking for. And then I've got obviously the calls at $11. So that's the little strangle right there with CleanSpark. The reason I have that in yellow because it's caution, right? Because there's an unlimited upside risk whenever it's a naked call. So I have to defend and roll that position on a moment's notice. Riot, we got cash secure puts at $7, 1,000 contracts. So that we received 48,000 in premium, $700,000 in collateral on Riot. There's cover calls at 10, 2,500 contracts. Received 52,500 in premium expiring on 5/16. Potential market value on that is 2.5 million. On SoFi, there's cash here put the $10 at the distance, collected a shitload of premiums, 562,000. Those are obviously in the money, and that's $2.5 million in collateral. So that's something to consider. And then there's now cover calls. The reason I have these in yellow is because we no longer own the shares. So I have to defend and roll these because they're technically naked at that point, even though I have the leaps there. And those are for 2,000 contracts, collected 45,000 in premiums for 5/16. So I'm going to be running the PMCC campaign there. And then here's the leaps. So I have these labeled as covered call just because of the formula, but y'all will see the premium's negative, and that was $654,000 is what I paid for those leaps. And then we have Tesla cash secured puts at 175 and 200 in the distance. Now this one's going to be 235 because I added contracts to it. And I'll have to adjust the premiums later. And then this one here is no longer on the table. So I could delete that one right there. There we go. Then I've got Tesla cash secured puts at 175, 200 in the distance. And then I've got the cash secured puts at 220 for 5/16. And then I've got the cover calls / naked calls. The only thing that's covered would be the first 6,500, the first 65 contracts, because there's only 6,500 shares owned on Tesla. So we got the cover calls or naked calls at 300, 350, and 375, and you'll see that there's 400 total, and we only own 6,500 shares. So do the math. There's a lot of naked calls there, 335 of them to be exact. And this is the premium, and that's rough. And then this is the Tasty Trade premium. And I get that number from the actual brokerage. And then here on the open shares, it's real simple. Tesla down 218,000 on the shares. So that's going to be a red number now. Amazon down 299 on the shares. And Riot down 209 on the shares. So bought the shares for $5 million. They're currently going for 4.283. So down $750,000 on the shares. So that's what's going on with the portfolio in a nutshell. I appreciate the 1,000 people that have seen the link on X and the 37 people rocking with me live. That's a pretty low number. I'm assuming that Emit is still on. The Emit News Network is probably still going on YouTube. So where else are we at here? Good morning, 3 times premium, log trades, TJ Question. Why is your conviction so high on SoFi? Man, I've said that about 1,000 times on the channel. A little 20-second version is management. They're growing at about a 35% CAGR. I think Galileo is going to be something special. Technisys, their tech platform stuff, is going to be something special. And I hate going to the bank. I feel like the world is changing. I don't think the way that people bank today, the days of yesterday, I think they're gone. I think that brick and mortar banks are essentially going to be in trouble because I believe that everybody likes to do everything on their phone. Nobody likes that face-to-face interaction anymore. Like this young generation is just weird like that. So I think that SoFi is in a real good position to capture a lot of busy professionals with good credit scores, good income, and they don't necessarily want to start their phones all day. They're not going after that Robinhood customer. They're going after people that just want to get their money right. They kind of already have their money right. They want to get in a better situation, and they can cross-sell them a bunch of different products because they really follow you. So that's kind of just the idea of that. My leveraged ETF, cash secured puts are getting cooked, but I'll just keep rolling right on. Hey, what's going on, CR? Hope we're doing well. Morning. My old eyes can't see the Tasty accounts. I use you as the audio book now. Right on. Yeah, I have that little. The spreadsheet now that makes it a little bit easier for me to make it larger. Any thoughts on SOXL? I'm in around 1675. How long until it comes near there? And a lot of that depends on how well the semiconductors do, obviously. I don't know. My best guess would probably be 90 days or so. I think this shit's almost over, guys. I think that there's going to be a lot of deal making here. And all we need is just a little bit of good news for the market to rip up because they're just dying for some good news. And a lot of this stuff's oversold, technically speaking. So, yeah, I think that maybe another 30 to 60 days of pain at the most, the kind of sell and may go away type thing. And I think we'll start pushing up and Santa will come back in town and everything will be great by the end of the year. So we already talked about that. Nobody knows facts. Hood is greater than SoFi, maybe if that's your flavor. But let's look at that. So let's go over here to stock analysis. So let's see how great Hood is as a stock compared to SoFi. So let's just look at it. So we got Hood. There's Hood. And max chart on Hood, down 10%. Does that sound like a great stock? I'm just saying, if you got in over here, it sucks. If you were one of those emitters, right, and you're over here, you did well. Good for you. That's not a lot of y'all. So now let's look at Hood. Now let's look at SoFi. And again, it's the only chart that matters, the max chart, right? Down 12%. So they're about the same. They both kind of suck if you look at it from that perspective. A little triple top action, got his ass kicked, consolidated, went up. Now you have looking like a little double top pattern, maybe a triple top, and coming back down. So none of them are breaking any records here, guys. None of them are breaking any records. Let's look at Tesla. Let's look at Tesla, keeping it on the max chart. None of them are doing that. You know what I'm saying? None of them are doing that. Well, let's look at Bitcoin for that matter. Let's go look at Bitcoin. Well, this is an ETF only. I guess this is not the same thing. Yeah, that's not Bitcoin. So let's look at Amazon. That's crazy. That's crazy, right? You look at the max chart. So I think it's premature, but it's just kind of like, when you say things like, oh, Hood's greater than SoFi, etc., or vice versa. It's just like cheering for your own personal sports team, right? Like I was going for Duke the other night, and then they choke jobbed it bad with like a minute and a half left. And then Houston was resilient and they pulled off the win. And now they're playing tonight against Florida for the national championship, right? But it is what it is. You just have to figure out, can you manufacture the win on Hood? Can you manufacture the win on SoFi? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters is, can you manufacture the win? Because that's really all that matters. The rest of it is all just like, are you excited about it? And again, it's like, that's great. But are you executing, Matt? Are you able to manufacture the wins? At the end of the day, that's what fucking matters. But if you're just buying and holding, and then if Hood executes and the stock's rewarded, well, then boom, you're good. But that's not what I do on the channel. I sell puts, I sell calls, I collect premium, I roll them, makes dollars and cents. I buy the time you lead. So I have to figure out is, can I manufacture the win? And on some stocks, it's just easier to manufacture the win for me than on others, because I'm not just going to buy, hold, and hope. That makes sense. So you have to trade your plan. You have to trade your strategy. And this is something that I don't show on the channel, but I'm going to see if I could set it up first, and then I'll show you guys. Let me see here, these stupid little charts. Yeah, perfect. This is the only chart I look at. And I want to recommend this chart for a lot of you guys. Not financial advice, but this is a chart that I look at. So I need to figure out how to stop this thing here. And I can only be on here for a few more minutes. I got FaceTimes, but I'm gonna try to squeeze this part in for you guys. I think it'll help you guys out. Share screen. Here we go. You all see kaleidoscope action. Okay, super. So here's Tasty Trade, and you guys will be able to see that because we're not going over the positions here. We're talking about the charts. So here's the chart. So y'all, let me put it on Amazon. I'm gonna go to the chart. So this is Amazon. Y'all see that little dotted line up there? That is my average cost on Amazon. So that is what I look at. I look at, okay, how long has this stock been above my line? This is my average cost line. Dude, all the other squiggly bullshit that you want to draw on the chart to make yourself look and feel smart, that's great. But the only line that really matters is where is the stock trading in comparison to where you own the shares. So I got 10,000 shares at 203.15. And it's only been above that right here. It's only been above that very little. The rest of the time, this stock has traded below my average cost. So I don't need to know a fucking thing about Fibonacci's and anything. None of that shit. What I know, just looking at that, is that my entry point on Amazon is not that good. There's a lot of work to do there. I have to hope and pray that Amazon goes back up towards all-time highs in order to stand a fighting chance to manufacture the win there. This is a real good exercise. A lot of you guys should go through the effort and test it out. So we're going to do another one. So you put this on to where it's highlighted because it just becomes so obvious to you. So this is the price movement of the stock. And then you put your little line there of where you own those shares. What's your price of the shares? Tasty Trade does it for you. The little metric. And then I go to another one. I'm like, well, how am I looking on Riot? So I go to Riot, I go to the chart. So now I look at Riot and I'm like, okay, so I own these at 851. Spent a lot of time over here on 2021 above 851 for me. And then over here on 5/1/2022, this was the bad year, right? Remember, 2022 was no bueno for stocks. It was hovering below it, touched it a few times, but that was a rough go of it. For like 7 or 8 months, it was trading below that level. And then here in March of 2023, it started going up. And then it like, oh shit, it's getting close to it. And it's up. And then that went below it over here on 8/1/2024. Then it's up again. And then it's slightly below it right now where it's trading. So when I look at this chart real quickly, I'm like, we kind of been hovering on around my average cost for a while now. And then early on, it was like way above it comfortably for a long time. But for the most part, it's been hovering in that area for a couple of years. So luckily, I've been able to generate a lot of premium selling puts and calls along the way. So my adjusted cost base is actually like $1 or $2. So it's not too bad. So I was able to manufacture the win there, but I still have work to do because, ideally, I would love to get rid of those shares somewhere over here in this area. But is Riot ever going to go back to that area? I don't know. They dilute a lot, right? So we'll see what happens. So that is the chart that I look at. Now I look at it again over here. There's no more shares on SoFi owned, so I don't need to necessarily look at the chart from that perspective, but I can still look at, okay, well, I just bought Leaps at 15. So how risky are those really if I look at where's the stock been trading? So we can go ahead and look at the chart real quickly on SoFi, and we can put it at 15, which will be right here. And you will see that that's a very risky play because it was early on. It was early on. I'm trying to put it right at 15. There we go. Give or take, right? It was early on when it was having that, a double top, if you will, because here it shows it more like a double top whenever you show the shaded area. You put it at 15. SoFi has not hung out over 15 very long. It spent most of its life on Wall Street below 15, way below 15. So I'm like, dude, we need a lot of things to go right for that $654,000 bet to pay dividends, so to speak. So just, keep that in mind. And then I go over here and I look at Tesla. Well, how am I doing on Tesla? Because I recently averaged up because I had an average cost under 200 and I decided to average up. And the reason I decided to average up is because I looked at the chart and I was like, okay. So we have an average cost right here of 261 or 261 and some change. 261.13, 261.93. It's right here. 261.93. And I look at it and I'm like, okay, so the first time it touched it was on January of 2021. And then it immediately hung out below it for about 9 months. And then it went parabolic. It went parabolic and it stayed over it for a while till May of 2022. And then there was a drastic dip and then it went back up, stayed up for a while. And then it camped out from September of 2022 until June of 2023. So that was tough sledding right there. That was tough sledding. And then it kind of consolidated in that area and then it went back down. It tried to go back up in December of 23, didn't happen. And then it slid. It slid down and it didn't touch it again until September of 2024. And then it went down a little bit and then it went parabolic again here recently, this last December. And then it's come crashing all the way down. So if I just kind of look at this thing, I'm like, man, if I had to eyeball it, I would say that maybe 40% of the time, 30% of the time, it's above my average cost, which is $261.93. So if I want to get it below that cost comfortably, just eyeballing the chart, I'm thinking that I need to be somewhere in that $200 range. Because then now I have a lot more time that Tesla has bid above that price. So that's why I've decided that I want to go heavy on Tesla at 175-ish. I want to double the position at 175 so I can bring that average down, because I would bring it down probably to 225, 230 and give me a fighting chance to manufacture the win just on the average cost of the shares alone. Forget about the crap load of premium that I'm bringing through the door. But I'm just talking about what's my entry point and ultimately what's going to be my exit point. So if I look at the entry point here on Tesla at 261.93, guys, it's not good. It is not good. Not a good entry point because it has not spent that much time above those levels historically. Again, this isn't drawing fibs, this isn't drawing trend lines, this isn't drawing any of that stuff, because I'm talking about how does that price action pertain to where I own the shares? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters to me. So that's just an exercise that I've been doing for a long time. I'm not saying that it'll help you out, but it gives you a good perspective of whether or not you have good entry points. You're buying the low, the middle, or at the top. And on Amazon, I feel like I definitely bought at the top. And on SoFi, more like mezzanine level, at least right at the middle of the top. It is not a great entry point. That's why I'm I need to get aggressive with this thing. If it dips 175, I'm really, really hoping it goes to 150 and I could load the boat down there so that I could bring my average cost down. And I feel like I'm in a much better shape long term. Anyway, I hope that helps you guys out. I got to get rocking and rolling. Hoping and praying for all-time highs is not an investment strategy. Exactly. You follow me? That's why it's like I had the sell button at 238 or 235. Excuse me, my wife always knows. Excuse me. Hello? I'm live on YouTube. What's up, baby doll? Alrighty, bye-bye. No, she's driving and bored. She wanted to shoot the shit. So anyway, like I said, it was like on Friday, right? I think it was Friday when I said that I feel like my worst trade is not selling Amazon at that 235, 238 level because I knew my entry point wasn't that good. I was trying to free up cash because I wanted to go sell more cash secured puts on Tesla because it's just much higher conviction. And I follow the company more. Like I'm just more excited about it. Like I don't even listen to earnings calls on Amazon because I'm just like, yeah, it doesn't, it just doesn't excite me that much. I just thought it was kind of like a safe place to hide money, if you will. Guys, I got to get rocking and rolling. I got to get on the FaceTimes. But anyway, I hope you guys do well. Just, I'd say just try to stay calm, stay collected. Don't do anything too crazy and work your plan, whatever your plan is. If you're just buy, hold, and hope, that's cool. That's not really my deal. I sell puts, I sell calls, I collect premium. I roll in, makes dollars and cents, and I try to buy the timely leap. Like that is what I do, but that's my plan. That's not necessarily going to be your plan. We all have to push our own buttons. We all have to live with our results. TJ the Will Deal signing off. As always, may the sky stay blue, stock screen. Peace out. God bless you guys.